What it is. Should I button this? So you guys don't have to see so much chat. Oh, no, it's not so good. What it is, everybody. Breaking news. Breaking news. I might have titled it differently. Breaking news, as expected, right before markets open for the weekend. Donald Trump is out on Truth Social promising something which you decide may or may not come to fruition. But it is having the designed effect, at least so far, which is that oil is down a little bit. So anyway, welcome to the show. Sorry I haven't been here for a while. It's just the same story every week, especially when it comes to the stock market, which, I've been talking about, but also in terms of the news. Same story. We get promises of things happening only for them to never happen. Then we get more promises of things happening. They never happen. And still, people believe they're going to happen sometime soon. Sometime soon, one of these days, the Strait of Hormuz is going to be open. We're having positive talks. Kushner and Witkoff are going. JD Vance is going. We get official news. We've won. We're winning. Some other things happen in the news too, but that's the latest. Just like I said, breaking news. Donald Trump, who was at a golf tournament at one of his clubs, I guess. The golf tournament ended, and while he was in the stands, he sent out a Truth Social post promising that very soon, tomorrow morning their time, Middle Eastern time, which I think is already almost now, we are going to be escorting or something, guiding. I don't know if it really means exporting. Escorting, sorry. Ships. We'll find out. And then we'll find out what the Iranians have said. It happened 25 minutes ago or something. Donald Trump tweeted that out. He says tomorrow, but it's already tomorrow there. So apparently new news, which may be refuted, but we'll see if anybody cares. That's what happens every week. Common sense is where you been. The news has been kind of the same. There has been some news. There was a shooting. I mean, some Secret Service officers shot at each other, it seems like. Many people say it was fake. So I have at least some reporting on that, but I don't know if it's fake. I have no idea. But that was a very popular narrative, staged, mainly from the left, but also from the right, that the shooting at the hotel was staged somehow to make Donald Trump's popularity go up, I assume, but it didn't go up. He's still getting the worst polls ever. And he's still saying that he's getting the best polls ever. I have many of the clips are just people lying to you, which is I mean, like I said, it's a little frustrating. But things are happening. The price of oil has been going up. The price of gas in some places is near all-time highs, especially diesel, which is what they use to carry stuff like food. There are stories about food. There are stories about farmers. There are stories that indicate that the economy could be in trouble in the future sometime. The thing that I predicted would happen, it has happened so far, which is that the Strait of Hormuz would be closed for a long time, much longer than people expect. Which so far has come to fruition. The thing I didn't realize is that people don't care right now. People don't care and they still don't believe it. I guess that's the most important thing. People don't believe it, no matter what. The fake news moves people every single week. There are new promises and people believe it. And the Iranians say it's not true. And then people still don't really care. Brave Little Toaster says stock up on food. Yeah, I've heard food prices are going up a lot. I saw some news about that. Saw news about cans of tomatoes. But gas in particular went up a lot this week. The guy from Gas Buddy on Twitter was actually freaking out. There was a day this week where oil went up like 8%. And then the stock market still went up or went down a little bit. It was crazy. Well, it went up a lot. Tuesday, maybe. Then kind of went down the rest of the week. But gas prices remain elevated. I'll give you the report from my local gas station. It went, which is the cheap one in town, one of them. It went up to $5.75 and then went down 5 cents. So it's at $5.69 for cash, $5.69 local. But the biggest increases in gas prices were in the Midwest near the Great Lakes region, where gas is like $5 now. So they're approaching California prices. It went up like 75 cents in a week before going down a little bit over the weekend, apparently. But people are starting to catch on a little bit. People are starting to catch on a little bit, which is that we're also, while gas prices are going up for Americans, we are sending our oil overseas. And that is being all like, and people keep saying that's great. Our oil exports are at an all-time high, but our gas prices are also very close to an all-time high. They are at an all-time high in certain regions for this particular date. When we had higher gas prices before, it was during the peak driving season, which is still upcoming, which is in the summer. So we haven't reached all-time high demand for gasoline and diesel, which would be in the summertime, which is when prices went up the most when Joe Biden was president. But we've gotten to the point where every single politician is, Republican politician, is going to be asked about gas prices almost every day as long as they keep going up. So, like I said, oil is down a little bit from this latest announcement, but to be honest, it's not down that much. Crude oil in the United States is still over $100, and that's actually kind of going up since it opened 20 minutes ago for trading. People thought it was getting down a lot. Donald Trump promises that we're going to be escorting ships, so I'll show you that. But yeah, frustrating for me, because I shorted the stock market, of course, thinking that if the Strait of Hormuz would be closed for a long time, that would be bad for the stock market. But apparently we don't rely on oil nearly as much as we used to. So all historical analogies apparently go out the window, like the oil embargo in the 1970s. We did rely on oil a lot more. Companies are reporting earnings, and they're amazing. AI companies, but they're also spending a shitload of money. But earnings from companies have been amazing. So in particular, the NASDAQ and tech stocks it's actually in some ways unprecedented, actually. So I should feel kind of stupid. I shorted stocks, said stocks would go down, and they made an unprecedented rise up to where they basically have gone up every single day, almost every single day, and haven't gone down even 1% any particular day in the last at least 30 days, I think. I think the NASDAQ is up something like 20%. It's insane. I've definitely lost a significant amount of money, and I will lose more if things don't change in the next 45 days or so. So that hurts, but I've moved to just betting on oil instead, and that's going a little bit better. So it seems like for at least some period of time, for people who care about that kind of thing, oil can go up and stocks can go up. So that's what's been happening. Oil did go up a lot. And like I said, actually right now, it's almost $101 a barrel for American crude oil. So it's not down that much. So anyway, that's what's going on in the world. We also had Jim Comey, the really embarrassing things happening for the administration. Jim Comey got indicted for posting seashells, where it said 8647, which he said he saw that on a beach. He didn't even make it himself. But in a case that's probably going to be thrown out, and actually probably Jim Comey will be awarded some kind of compensation for targeting, for political targeting, since it's such a ridiculous case. In this case, and they keep making it more ridiculous by saying things like, oh yeah, we're not going to prosecute anybody else for saying 8647, because people are literally selling merchandise now that says 8647, and no one's going to get prosecuted for it by admission of the FBI themselves. So the case is going to get thrown out, and most likely, like I said, Jim Comey will get some kind of compensation. So we have, just kind of like broken promises, right? Lots of broken promises, which Republicans are going to pay the price for in the fall. Not that Democrats have any solutions, but Republicans are going to get a significant blame for continuing to support Trump, regardless of what Trump does, continuing to support the war, no matter what the war does, etc. King Ravana says oil to the moon. Yeah, I think so. I'm sweet. I'm going to buy tomorrow. It's good that it's down a little bit, because I'm going to get some oil stocks, I think. Stop worrying about shorting the stock market. I do think the stock market will go down. This is called calm before the storm. That's because so far things are relatively calm. Strikes have not begun. It's literally constant on my timeline that people are saying we're about to attack Iran. Many people predicted, based on movements of aircraft and everything else, that we were about to hit them this weekend. Every weekend after markets close, people announce that we're about to start a war with Iran. I don't think we are yet. But I keep seeing all the dire warnings. Aircraft moving, threats, etc. Iran keeps threatening, never doing anything. Lots of movement of forces, nothing ever happens. Pizza indicator, nothing ever happens. So I'm inclined to think we won't attack. I mean, we could the 60 days passed. The 60 days passed that we're supposed to, constitutionally, I guess, that we're allowed to have a war without a declaration of war. The 60 days passed, and then Trump said the war is over, or that there never was a war. But in as much as there was a war, it's over, even though we are currently doing an active war, which is a naval blockade. So I think we're on extremely shaky legal ground, which I think makes it extremely difficult for us to attack Iran again, unless they attack first, which they might. Without like risk, since everybody wants to impeach Donald Trump, I assume he's a little bit concerned that he does something that makes it a lot easier to impeach him, which I think initiating strikes without Iran striking first would put him in some kind of legal jeopardy. But Republicans are going along with it. Like in Congress, Mike Johnson says that we're not at war right now, so we don't need a declaration of war. Donald Trump says is unconstitutional. It's kind of crazy. So I'll show you all the things Donald Trump is saying. I continue to think that he's mentally compromised in a big way. And he's ready as soon as we're done with Iran to take Cuba next, which I'm sure will be very exciting for him. But I'm looking at oil prices. Oil's actually going up. It's already at 101.32. It was under 100 when markets opened 30 minutes ago. So it seems like maybe people don't believe it. So anyway, I'll show you guys some news. I'll show you the latest. We'll start after playing the intro with the latest Legos from Iran, where it is a direct appeal to the American people of Iranians saying they are like Americans, that we are the same. We are both suffering under the Epstein class, I suppose they would put it. We are both suffering under the Epstein class. They are suffering as a result of our war against them, and we are suffering as a result of our war against them. And that's true because gas prices are up, inflation is up, inflation is going to be up, and then our farmers can't grow any food, it seems like. So that's where we're at right now. And people, I say calm before the storm. People seem to think that's okay. Prices can go up, oil can go up. That doesn't mean that our corporations aren't going to make a shit ton of money. So we continue to live in a completely bifurcated economy where people who have stocks are getting rich on paper, and people who don't, and people who have homes are still doing okay. And people who don't are getting proverbially effed without the proverbial Vaseline, etc. So Tina says gas where I live is $4.79 now, and it was $2.69 when this started. Yeah, it's starting to get as bad other places as it is here in California. Proportionally, maybe even worse. I think where it started at like four, I think it started here around 4.5. I don't know if it ever got below 4 here. I don't think so. If I had to, I try to watch gas prices, but I think it was like 440 or something here, and now it's 570. Again, that's at cheap stations. Other places, if I drive around, it's close to $7, and diesel is over $7 here in California. And in big cities like in the San Francisco Bay Area, people are paying $7 already for just regular gasoline, petrol. And just a reminder, in Iran, they're paying about 10 or 12 cents a gallon for gas. So I don't know who's better off. So, yeah, you say it peaked at 489. Well, it looks like it might. I mean, if what the Panikins have been saying, and I've been following Panikins, of course, particularly oil and gas analysts who say it's about to get really bad. We've been doing a lot of things to try to make it better, but it's about to get really bad. So anyway, let's get started with the show. We'll talk about it a little bit more. Sorry for the long absence. I need to be motivated. Coming back today, and there happened to be breaking news. So anyway, I'll play you guys the latest Lego video, which is very interesting. We'll play our intro, we'll grift, etc. Thanks for tuning into the show. Good to see you guys. Here we go. Okay, cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant. I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is, joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman. And I bring you the news, the real news.
Say sun rising, but we're living in hell, while the leaders are ringing the funeral bell. Love for the people, but the system must cease. From Tehran to DC, we're screaming for peace. I'm writing this from Tehran, looking up at the sky, wondering how many drones are gonna pass us by. Another meaningless war, another theater of blood, while our mothers are weeping, burying the young in the mud. It ain't just here, it's the soldiers you send across, just 18 years old, another devastating loss. Families fractured for a line drawn in the sand. I see the tears in my city, I see the grief in your land. Nobody wins when the youth are bleeding out on the street, just the echo of boots and a tragic defeat. I got no respect for the suits sitting up on the hill, drafting up legislation that's a license to kill. You
what do you think?
Freedom and justice, spreading the light, but all you spread is the terror in the dead of the night. Your politicians are puppets, strings pulled by the greed, selling weapons to anyone, ignoring the need. They sit in ivory towers completely out of touch, making billions on bombs while the world suffers so much. They point fingers at us, call us the actors so bad, while they fund the worst violence that the world ever had. Same sun rising, but we're living in hell, while the leaders are ringing the funeral bell. Love for the people, but the system must see. From Tehran to DC, we're screaming for peace. Now let's talk about Trump, the man painted in gold, tearing up the agreements, acting reckless and bold. Sanctions choking my people, couldn't get medicine in. Assassinated our general and you cheer for the win. You preach about morals, put the word on his back, but check the flight logs on Epstein, look at your tracks. Hanging out with the monsters, turning a blind eye while you tweet from your mansion and let innocents die. Your policies crushed us, try to starve us to death, but our end is still breathing, we still got our breath. It's not you, America, it's the ones who lead you. Listen to my heart. I don't hate the Americans who are living in fear, to the working class people trying to make ends meet, to the students protesting, marching out on the street. We are one and the same, just trying to survive, just trying to keep our cultures and our families alive. I see you standing for justice, fighting the system of hate. It's your corrupt politicians that is sealing our fate. I send love to the citizens from coast to coast. You're victims of the same machine that hurts us the most. So I wrote this track to try to bridge the divide, to lay down the weapons, to swallow the pride. We don't need another missile, no more tactical strikes. We need conversations on what the future looks like. My purpose is peace. Let the hostility.
You guys get it. It's pretty effective, I think. Pretty effective propaganda. They're certainly winning the propaganda war. The White House posted a video of Donald Trump on a loop saying winning for 1 hour. That's what we posted. Winning for 1 hour straight. The same clip on a loop. It wasn't even him saying it different times, which they could have done because he does say it all the time. They could just have all the clips of him saying we won against Iran. It's really kind of ironic considering we lost. We in this journalist view, we lost already because we haven't achieved any of the objectives that we sought out to achieve, and we're not even trying to, actually. Because actually, we were supposed to get rid of their missiles, and we don't even talk about that anymore. If you just go back to basics, for a while, we didn't even talk about nuclear. We haven't bombed any of their nuclear facilities this time. We haven't even tried. I guess we're not even targeting them. But originally it was to get rid of their missiles, which United States intelligence says they have like 50 or 60% left, and most of their drones still. And we aren't even discussing in any context curtailing their ballistic missile program, which is a must for everybody else in the region, Israel, UAE, etc., Saudi Arabia. So we pretty much, like, effectively, we already lost, even if we get the deal. Well, if Donald Trump gets his deal and they decide to surrender, then we didn't lose. But so I guess we haven't for sure. But there are no indications that Iran is ready to surrender. They keep sending back more and more maximalist requests, and people keep pretending we're about to have a deal. So thanks, Hyper Spiky. Thanks for the super chat. Thanks for being here, Nathan. Love the streams. I'll try to do them more. I'll try. I have to get the right motivation. The news has to change. You know what I mean? It's just constantly the same. More promises, more it's going great, more there's going to be negotiations. Every week, it's the same fucking story. So I already saw a response from Professor Morandi. Okay, I'll show you guys the tweet. If you want to support the show, you can do super chats because we are monetized. Lots of people are being demonetized and deplatformed off YouTube right now by automated systems for not doing quote unquote original content, even though they do original content. So that's kind of a story. If you want to support the show, crawling across the bottom of the screen are ways you can do that do not pay YouTube, which we still consider to be part of the evil empire and controlled by Jews, probably. By more that we just consider them to be part of the evil empire. They do take a significant percentage of your super chats, but they do not get anything if you support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. Buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. You can leave virtual coffees that cost $5 each, which is less than a cup of coffee in California. Well, depends what kind, but the kind I get at least. Buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil, or you can go to truthclothing.io. Also goes straight to this creator, and there is no percentage taken by YouTube. You can go here and buy one of these wonderful t-shirts or sweatshirts sometimes. We have a lot of Bitcoin's been doing pretty well. We can get a lot of Bitcoin shirts, crypto shirts. Those are in stock for sure. You can get these freedom of face shirts from the COVID days, which are made in America. And we even have child sizes, and those are only $5 each, with a production cost around $20 per item. So you're getting 75% off wholesale in that case. You can get our questionnaire in female styles. We have some decent stock left. These are on closeout, going out of business. Everything must go sale. $5, $10. Below cost items, which are super high quality to begin with, and which I wear mostly every single day. So you can go to truthclothing.io to buy those t-shirts. Thank you for your attention to this matter. All right, so here's before I get into some of the other news, here is what Trump says as of maybe an hour ago now. Here's what he says. Countries from all over the world, almost all of which are not involved in the Middle Eastern dispute going on so visibly and violently for all to see, have asked the United States if we could help free up their ships, which are locked up in the Strait of Hormuz, on something which they have absolutely nothing to do with. They are merely neutral and innocent bystanders. For the good of Iran, the Middle East, and the United States, we have told these countries that we will guide their ships safely out of these restricted waterways so that they can freely and ably get on with their business. Again, he says, anyway, let me just try to interpret this. We will guide, which I don't know if that means we will escort. That would be a lot different. We will guide their ships. Again, these ships from areas of the world that are not in any way involved with which is currently taking place in the Middle East. I have told my representatives to inform them that we will use best efforts to get their ships and crews safely out of the strait. In all cases, they said they will not be returning until the area becomes safe for navigation and everything else. That's super important. This process, Project Freedom, will begin Monday morning Middle Eastern time. I am fully aware that my representatives are having very positive discussions with the country of Iran, and that these discussions could lead to something very positive for all. The ship movement is merely meant to free up people, companies, and countries that have done absolutely nothing wrong. They are victims of circumstance. This is a humanitarian gesture on behalf of the United States, Middle Eastern countries, but in particular, the country of Iran. Many of these ships are running low on food and everything else necessary for large-scale crews to stay on board in a healthy and sanitary manner. I think it would go a long way in showing goodwill on behalf of all of those who have been fighting so strenuously over the last number of months. If, in any way, this humanitarian process is interfered with, that interference will unfortunately have to be dealt with forcefully. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. Okay, what is important to discern from this text? Well, first of all, the ships aren't coming back, even according to Donald Trump. So this means nothing, even according to Donald Trump, in terms of oil flowing through the Strait of Hormuz, oil or anything else, fertilizer, helium, flowing through the Strait of Hormuz, because the ships aren't going to come back. So even though oil went down at first, it's rapidly coming back, because even in Trump's own words, this does not mean freedom of navigation of the Strait of Hormuz, which is how it's kind of initially it was being interpreted. But I think people are kind of realizing that it doesn't mean anything for the future of the Strait of Hormuz, because Trump says the ships aren't coming back. He also says this is a humanitarian gesture, in particular by the country of Iran, which would suggest that Iran has agreed to do it, which we have yet to be confirmed if it's true. I would normally be skeptical, but it's actually possible that Iran has agreed to allow ships to leave as a humanitarian gesture. It's possible, because actually it would gain them some goodwill while not allowing American ships to come in to escort them and not allowing the ships to come back. So it's possible that Iran did it. It's just that it doesn't mean anything in terms of the Strait of Hormuz being open. It just means that they'll let out those ships. It's possible they will. I'll give you the first response I see from Iranian mouthpieces, which is Professor Morandi says, no ships will be allowed to exit the Persian Gulf without permission from the Iranian armed forces. Only a fool would attempt to ignore an Iranian warning. So that he's basically semi-official. I think he was actually at the negotiations. So that's a semi-official response already, which is skepticism. And Iran has been mining the crap out of the Hormuz Strait. It seems like lots of satellite imagery of many, many, many speedboats in the middle of the Strait of Hormuz. So it appears that during the ceasefire, that Iran has done more to make sure that the Strait of Hormuz will not in any time soon return to normal operations. So anyway, that's the news. Then you see Zero Hedge say Brent oil drops 2.4% as U.S. plans to guide ships through Hormuz. Let us see. That is how things started, but already Brent oil is down less than 1% now. So it quickly reversed. So, like I said, I am more long oil now than short stocks, personally. And I think that the oil situation is pretty dire, but that's the fertilizer situation might be even worse. And who knows? The helium situation is pretty bad too. There's a lot of bad situations. So anyway, no matter what Trump says, no matter what the initial reaction was, the Strait of Hormuz is not opening anytime soon. The Iran sent back an agreement, sent back a proposal to open the Strait of Hormuz, which is why the market pumped on Friday. Once again, Axios before market open said that Iran was about to send back a proposal to open the Strait of Hormuz. They sent back a proposal. It's been reported what the proposal was, which is totally unacceptable to America, and Trump has already said it's unacceptable to America. So it is what it is. We'll talk a little bit more about what Trump said was going to happen. The news hasn't changed since my last show, which is, I guess, one reason why I hadn't appeared. Is it is blockade versus blockade, a stalemate where we each think that our blockade, we each, Iran and America and Israel, I guess, think that we are going to pressure the other side financially, economically, and win concessions from the other side. I believe it's flawed reasoning, which has already been proven to not be true on the side, and great miscalculation by the United States of America that Iran is ever going to surrender, which is what's required from Donald Trump until further notice. Will strikes continue if gas prices go up enough? That's what I think. If gas prices go up enough, then Trump might feel like he has to attack. So, which they could. I mean, it could happen fast. It could happen slow. I'm not sure. But gas prices are likely to continue going up. I don't know how fast. It depends on the fake news. But diesel in particular is a problem. So anyway, just for some ridiculous statements from Hegseth got grilled. I listened to that. I tuned into it was either Congress or Senate hearings. Hegseth got grilled. The response is constant from everyone. They're going to be asked about gas prices every day. They hit a new record high. Every day, someone is going to ask them about gas prices. The response is a simple response. Gas prices might be high, but it's better than Iran having a nuclear weapon. And to what Hegseth said, are Americans, they're like, you think Americans are willing to pay higher gas prices? It's like, how much would you pay for Iran not to have a nuclear weapon? But I think most people agree. Well, it's a false argument, first of all, because Iran had already agreed not to have a nuclear weapon before we struck them. They had agreed to that for a long time. They were willing to agree to it for sanctions relief and money being returned to them for a long time. They've been willing to do that. They already signed a deal once to do that. They already said that. They weren't, our intelligence services said they weren't trying to acquire a nuclear weapon. And they've said over and over and over and over again that if we agree to stop attacking them and we agree to release sanctions on them, and if we give them their frozen money back, that they're more than happy to not have a nuclear weapon. As long as they can enrich uranium still and have nuclear power still, they're willing to have inspectors and independent third parties come and make sure that they don't get a nuclear weapon, as long as we agree to leave them the F alone. They've been willing to do that for a long freaking time. So it's a false response, but that is the response you're going to hear over and over and over again. Yes, gas prices are high, but what would you pay for Iran not to have a nuclear weapon? Well, most people agree they're not willing to pay for that at this point. Most people actually agree with that. So anyway, here's Hegseth. Just this is so that we'll hear that answer, but here's Hegseth. This is just a ridiculous statement. I just thought I'd play this. Here we go.
And when you fight a war the right way, the idea is on the other side, you bring about peace. That is what we'd like to see the most. In fact, I once did a video about the one institution that should win the Nobel Peace Prize every single year is the United States military. Because we are the guarantor of the safety and security of not just of our country, but of a lot of people in this world. Last question. Yes, sir.
I like that. Delulu, they call that. The kids call that Delulu. The United States government, particularly on the Republican side, is Delulu, particularly our President Donald Trump, but also Pete Hegseth. Delulu, completely out of touch with reality. Iran, which has never started a war against anyone, except maybe the Greeks, I think, but for a long time. And America, which just bombs literally everybody and overthrows governments everywhere, makes up fake reasons to go to war, like in Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. We should win a Nobel Peace Prize. Our military. They should just give it to our CIA. Nobel Peace Prize every single year. All right, so let's talk about some other news. Should I run a poll for people who think that the shooting was fake? I think I might know the results of that. Hold on, I'll run a poll. Let's monetize this video. Okay, and then let's go to this. We'll run a poll. I'll say staged. Staged is what was trending. Was the assassination attempt staged? That's what we'll say. Engage with your audience. Start a poll. Was the assassination attempt staged? Yes, no. Start poll. Okay. We'll start that. I don't think so, personally, because they didn't kill him. I would have thought they would at least, or, kill him or whatever. At least they wouldn't let him live, theoretically. Oops, I had to stage. All right, there we go. Here is some of the discussion about it. It certainly appears to me that he didn't shoot anybody. There's some video where they claim it shows he shot somebody, but also they've kind of admitted that it might have been friendly fire. And in any case, the Secret Service didn't do a particular, or the officers there didn't do a particularly good job. They shot at him a number of times and didn't hit him. He tripped and fell, I believe, and wasn't anywhere near the ballroom when he was apprehended. But here is the story of the disappearing bullets.
One officer fired their weapon 5 times. Was that the only officer who discharged a firearm?
I want to be very careful in answering that question, because this is, when you do ballistics evidentiary collection and research, it is very complicated. So when you fire a bullet, the bullet ends up somewhere. Sometimes you find it, sometimes you don't. And so from that, with that qualifier, we believe right now that there was 5 shots fired from the same firearm.
One officer fired their weapon.
Okay. Sometimes you find them, sometimes you don't. Indoors. Okay. Seems fair. Yeah, it's not clear the guy got off a shot. It's not clear by the video or anything else that he got off a shot. Here's some Donald Trump was going to give a roast of the media, which I was looking for, which is why I was tuned in for it. I was like, oh, I got to hear his jokes about the media. I'm sure that's going to go over really well. His press secretary, who's now having a baby, Carolyn Levitt, said that there would be shots fired. So some people are pointing to that. There was also a Twitter account with a Pepe the Frog icon with a Pepe profile pic of Pepe the Frog, which posted one tweet ever, apparently, which said Cole Allen, the name of the alleged attempted assassin, which what people thought was interesting. And then there was this Fox News reporter who got mysteriously cut off. So I'll play that clip for you.
I want to just quickly tell you, I was sitting next to Caroline Levitt, the press secretary's husband. He was one of our guests. He was seated right next to me. And, right as the dinner was starting, the national anthem happened. And then he kind of leaned over and said, I watched you on TV, you do a great job. You need to be very safe. And he was just very serious when he said that to me. And he kind of looked around the room and he said, there are some.
Sounds like we lost Aisha's phone there. And this happens, by the way, especially when you have so many people attempting to utilize the same cell service at the same time. I did want to add this while we had a moment. I was just reading.
I want to just quickly tell
there
you.
You go. Kind of mysterious. That was Carolyn Levitt's husband. So yes, Carolyn Levitt showed up for a press briefing, but she is now, it's very exciting. Carolyn Levitt is not doing press conferences because she's taking maternity leave. And I've heard that JD Vance and Donald Trump will now be doing press conferences themselves, which should make press conferences very exciting. Must see TV, especially if Donald Trump is doing them himself. So that's what we have to look forward to. They're not putting in a temporary press secretary, apparently. That's what I heard, at least. So we'll look forward to that. Press briefings by Donald Trump himself, who's liable to literally say almost anything. Okay, then there was the indictment against James Comey, which according to legal analysts is going to be thrown out. This is the count. What they said, they investigated it for 9, 10, or 11 months. They investigated James Comey for 9, 10, or 11 months over an Instagram post of seashells, which said 8647. The Webster's definition of 86. Definition of 86. Let's look that up. This, like in the dictionary, the definition of 86. So this is the AI overview. Let's see if there's here. Let's go to Merriam-Webster. Okay. What does 86 mean? So here we'll go to the definition. It comes from 1930s soda counter slang, meaning that an item was sold out. 86 is slang, meaning to throw out, to get rid of, or to refuse service to. It comes from 1930s soda counter slang, meaning that an item was sold out. There is varying anecdotal evidence about why the term 86 was used, but the most common theory is that it is rhyming slang for nicks. So they don't even mention that sometimes in modern slang it is used for kill, and it is, like, I agree, it is sometimes. They say 8 feet long, 6 feet deep. That's what some people say, like that a coffin is 8 feet long and 6 feet deep. That's what some people say for 86. So it's not that people don't use it that way, but it's not even in the definition, in the dictionary definition for what 86 means. And so it's not even just that 86 can have alternate meanings other than to kill, which would also be a defense. If the main definition was slang for to kill, but there were other uses for it that meant not to kill, but just to throw out or get rid of, that would already be a good enough defense. But that's not even it. It's mainly just to get rid of. And Jim Comey deleted the post after he posted it and said he didn't realize that sometimes, or some people thought it meant to kill, and that is clearly not what he meant. So he deleted it. It's the craziest case I've ever heard of. It's like, and like I said, he'll probably win. He'll probably get a settlement of some sort in the end for targeting, for political targeting. But also, Danger Man mentions Jack Posobiec has struggled to talk about Comey. Jack Posobiec posted a tweet that said 8646. So this is actually, and they said they investigated it for 11 months. And then this is count one. It's literally on or about May 15th, 2025 in the Eastern District of North Carolina. The defendant, James Comey, did knowingly and willfully make a threat to take the life of and to inflict bodily harm upon the President of the United States, in that he publicly posted a photograph on the internet social media site Instagram, which depicted seashells arranged in a pattern making out 8647, which a reasonable recipient who is familiar with the circumstances would interpret as a serious expression of an intent to do harm to the President of the United States. So that's the actual charge and reasoning behind it. It's not that they found an email or found some other evidence that James Comey had actually threatened the president, which is what, like, some people are hanging their hat on. They're like, oh, do you think they would bring charges without having more evidence? Well, it looks like they did. Yeah. So here's Trump talking about it.
Talking about how busy you were this morning. James Comey was in court. He self-surrendered. He's now been charged a second time, this time over a social media post with seashells that said 8647. Do you really think that he was endangering your life or threatening your life with that?
Well, if anybody knows anything about crime, they know 86. You know what 86? It's a mob term for kill him. You know, you ever see the movies? 86 him. The mobster says to one of his wonderful associates, 86 him. That means kill him. It's, I think of it as a mob term. I don't know. People think of it as something having to do with disappearing, but the mob uses that term to say when they want to kill somebody, they say 86, the son of a gun. I'm trying to keep the language nice and clear. They don't use that term, son of a gun. They use another term. But that's a mob term for kill him. Yeah.
But do you really think your life was in danger?
Probably. I don't know. You know, based on what I'm seeing out there, yeah, the people like Comey have created tremendous danger, I think, for politicians and others. Comey is a dirty cop. He's a very dirty cop. He cheated on the elections. He tried to help Hillary Clinton, as you know.
Anyway, just political prosecution. So anyway, that's that. Oh, they haven't found any. No one has been able to find a single instance of a movie where they say 86 him. in mob movies. Whether or not it really happens with the real mob, it's hard to say. Here was Blanche today on the morning shows, admitting that it's not a case, basically.
Well, the image, excuse me, is part of what led to this indictment.
Yes.
It is worth noting that on Amazon.com, we looked this up, there are dozens of products with the same terminology. We're showing it right here, 8647 being sold and purchased right now. Should individuals selling or buying 8647 merchandise be concerned that they're going to be prosecuted by the DOJ?
This isn't about a single incident. Okay, this isn't. I mean, of course not. That's posted constantly. That phrase is used constantly. There are constantly men and women who choose to make threatening statements against President Trump. Every one of those statements do not result in indictments. Of course, there are facts, there are circumstances, there are investigations that have to take place, and we have charged dozens and dozens of men and women this year with threatening President Trump and others. So this isn't a new charge we're bringing.
Just to be very clear, you are suggesting the seashells themselves are not at the root of this indictment.
No, I am suggesting that every single case depends on the investigation that's done. And of course, the seashells are part of that case. I mean, that's what the public sees. But without a doubt, and it should be evident by the fact that it's been 11 months since the posting and the indictment, there is an investigation that takes place. And that's the result. The result of that investigation is the indictment that was returned last week.
Let's talk.
Okay. The indictment says that's because of the post, though. So, like I said, if it's true, if they really had other evidence, then that would have probably been included in the indictment. But in any case, so that's that story. Alex Jones got kicked off. InfoWars is over, or The Onion took over InfoWars, and they ran a show on InfoWars trying to make fun of Alex Jones, and it's widely being interpreted as a huge flop, and it's unclear whether they'll do any more shows. So I don't know how much they had to pay for it, but I'm looking right now, and InfoWars is live right now on X. Alex Jones is live and InfoWars is live. You can see that right here. So anyway, here it is. This was this guy trying to make this guy from The Onion, Tim Heidecker, trying to make fun of Alex Jones in a super cringe-worthy way. So here it is. I guess they took over his studios, but Alex Jones lives on.
But I'm going to sip from the blood of the Forsaken. This is real human blood. You can find this at the InfoWars store. This is a human blood curated from the Forsaken and the sinners. All right, this is pure premium blood, tested, FDA unapproved. And this is just human blood. As part of my satanic ritual, I am a servant to Satan. And thank God I was able to get him and the Lord to sit down and come to their senses and get things back to before Satan was cast into hell. So I'm part of that. I'm part of the peace movement. It's thick. It tastes like blood. And this is Satan giving me the powers to continue to fight. And we will continue to fight. And I cheers to you. If you have access to the blood of the Forsaken, and of all the children, this is not blood. These are adult. This is adult blood, by the way. Ain't no question. I made sure of that because I don't want to get in trouble. But this is the blood of the Forsaken. It's hot.
I mean, just embarrassing. Pretty embarrassing, as you would expect. How can you make fun of? How can you be funnier than Alex Jones? That's the problem. Like, how can you be funnier than Alex Jones is? You could just run clips of Alex Jones saying things that are hilarious. Be better than that. That was pretty embarrassing. Pretty bad. So, R.I.P. Alex Jones. Long live Alex Jones. All right. Let's see. What else do we want to get into? The Germans we're an embarrassment around the world. Everyone hates us. Everyone is going to hate us even more the longer we continue to destroy the world economy. Germany, the German chancellor said that we suck. We have no plan to get out. Just said a bunch of things that are true about us. And now we are withdrawing troops from Germany as some kind of punishment, which I'm not clear Germany is going to really care about. But I'll play you what the German chancellor said about us with the translation.
It is quite obvious that the Americans have absolutely no coherent strategy whatsoever. And the fundamental problem with these kinds of conflicts is always the same. It is not enough to simply get yourself in. You must also figure out how to get yourself out again. We witnessed that reality quite painfully in Afghanistan over the course of 20 long years. We saw the exact same thing happen in Iraq. So this entire situation is, as I have mentioned previously, at the very least, it was ill-considered, and I really do not see at this present moment which one you mean. What strategic exit the Americans are choosing now, especially since the Iranians are obviously negotiating very skillfully, or for that matter, very skillfully not negotiating, and making the Americans travel to Islamabad and then letting them leave again empty-handed. A whole nation is being humiliated there by the Iranian leadership, especially by these so-called revolutionary guards. As Europeans, we have also extended an offer stating that we are prepared to assist in ensuring that the Strait of Hormuz is reopened.
So that's it. Basically, he said we were humiliated, which I agree with. We have been, but yeah, it's Donald Trump has expressed that he hates everybody else and doesn't care if they suffer. This attempt to guide ships through the Strait of Hormuz is some attempt to show some appreciation for the other countries that are suffering, but it is constant from our end that we say that we're not suffering, and it's just everybody else who's suffering. So it's a result of our actions that other people are already having fuel crises, but they'll come here too. They will come here too, especially the more oil we send overseas instead of keeping it here. But we'll have shortages too eventually. But it's the rest of the world that'll suffer more, which Trump says all the time. So anyway, here is Carolyn Leavitt lying a little over a week ago that we were going to go to it's just basically a series of promises and lies all the time. So here she is just saying something that wasn't true.
So can you confirm that Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are headed to Islamabad to meet with the foreign minister Araghchi?
Well, thank you, John, for having me. It's great to be with you as always. And yes, I can confirm Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be off to Pakistan again tomorrow morning to engage in talks, direct talks intermediated by the Pakistanis, who have been incredible friends and mediators throughout this entire process, with representatives from the Iranian delegation. Look, the Iranians reached out, as the president called on them to do, and asked for this in-person conversation. So the president is dispatching Steve and Jared to go hear what they have to say. And we're hopeful that it will be a productive conversation and hopefully move the ball forward towards a deal.
So can you...
I don't know. It just happens like I said, every single week. It's something new. Oh yeah, the Iranians called us and asked for a meeting. So we're sending these guys. Then we don't send them. And then we say we're never going to meet with them again, and they can just call us. But there she was, like literally saying something that ended up being totally not true, just to manipulate markets, people assume, which works. It worked. It keeps working every time. It keeps working. Like, and then when things don't happen, it doesn't matter. People still keep buying stocks and stuff as if everything's going to be great. But yeah, anyway, that's her line. We admitted that in our official documents, it says that we did the war for Israel. So even though we keep denying that we did it for Israel, in our official documents under this Operation Epic Fury and international law, it says, as the United States has explained in multiple letters to the UN Security Council, the United States is engaged in this conflict at the request of and in the collective self-defense of its Israeli ally, as well as in the exercise of the United States' own inherent right of self-defense. So no matter how much we deny it publicly, in official documents to the UN, we tell them that we are doing this on behalf of Israel. Here is another. So Donald Trump chose to do the blockade based on what appears to be faulty analysis based on some guy on Twitter who said that Iran would have to surrender within like 13 days because their oil facilities their oil storage tanks would be full. And that would cause catastrophic events to happen, and that Iran would have to surrender very soon because of the blockade, which was supposed to have it was already supposed to have happened. So here's Donald Trump saying on April 26th, as May 3rd, that things would start to happen in Iran. So here's Trump explaining why the blockade was going to work super fast.
But what you're referring to is that when you have lines of vast amounts of oil pouring through your system, if for any reason that line is closed because you can't continue to put it into containers or ships, which has happened to them, they have no ships because of the blockade. What happens is that line explodes from within, both mechanically and in the earth. Something happens where it just explodes. And they say they only have about 3 days left before that happens. And when it explodes, you can never rebuild it the way it was. In other words, it will always be, if you rebuild it, it's hard to rebuild it all, but it would only be about 50% of what it is right now. So it's a very powerful thing that takes place, sort of having to do with nature. But when that gets clogged at the end, in other words, when you have to turn it off because you have no place to store this oil, either put it on ships or storage tanks, which they are just about finished with, a very bad thing is going to happen. So I think they're under pressure. But
there. So you can see the scroll across the bottom of the screen Trump said the Iran war will end very soon. So based on this flawed analysis by some guy on Twitter, that their storage tanks would be full and that would cause catastrophic results, he assumed that the blockade would work very quickly. Apparently, J.D. Vance said within a couple of days they would surrender. Updated analysis from credible news organizations says that's not true at all. First of all, they have plenty of storage left, at least on the more advanced end. Some people say it's a couple weeks. But ships are making it through the blockade. Another one just with 2 million barrels on it went through the blockade. So oil tankers are being loaded still and making it through the blockade still. Every time one of their huge tankers gets loaded with 2 million barrels of oil, that buys them another couple of days. Other analysis have said that even when they reach their maximum as far as storage goes, they can shut down their production without catastrophic results. And the analysis says that once they can start shipping oil again, assuming the blockade is 100% effective, which it isn't based on tanker trackers, the blockade isn't totally 100% working. Even if it were, once they can resume production, they'll be able to resume production just fine. 70% of full production immediately and 100% within months. That's what analysis says. So we are in a blockade versus blockade scenario where Donald Trump is convinced, based on some analysis, that Iran will have to surrender. Based on other analysis, that's not even remotely true, and Iran isn't showing any sign that it's true. Not at all. And they also reduced production to almost nothing during COVID, which was another oil shock in the opposite direction as this oil shock. They reduced production to almost nothing for an extended period of time, and then they returned to full operation. So we'll see how long you can deal with higher gas prices. But here he is talking about the blockade. Here he is at a forum club where it said golden years. We are in the golden age, of course. So here he is talking about our blockade.
And then we had the other one you saw from 4 days ago where they were going to ram the we call it an iron wall. It's essentially an iron wall. We have such great military and great Navy. And they were going straight through. And they said, turn your ship around. And there was no response. Turn your ship around. Evacuate your engine room immediately. And you see all these guys running out of there. Now, they're 5 miles away. And one shot into the engine room, blew up the engine room. The ship stopped. They used tugboats, and then we landed on top of it. On top of everything else, we then land on top of it, and we took over the ship. We took over the cargo, took over the oil. It's a very profitable business. Who would have thought we were doing that? We're like pirates. We're sort of like pirates. And then we had the other one you saw from
people actually applaud for that. I didn't even I don't even preview these clips. I just read what he's gonna say. We're like pirates. Okay, cool. Applause. It's amazing. Why would he change strategy? He only talks to people that love him. Regarding the war, not war, here he is being candid about that.
It hit one yesterday, hit one the day before, during what they call a military operation. You know, they don't like the word war, and they call it a military operation because that way you don't have a war, you don't have legal problems. But you ever hear a situation? It hit one yesterday.
But he calls it a war all the time. So kind of throws that one out the window. He's very honest. That's all. He's brutally honest. Here he was at the same convention, I believe, talking about affordability and a line that will be used in ads this fall.
And the Democrats start screaming, affordability, affordability. They're the ones that caused the problem. I'll tell you one thing. They got one good line of bullshit. That's one thing I'll say about it. They are so bad. They are so bad. It's true. Affordability. It's the first time I heard the word. I'm 2 days in, and I watch this sleazebag, one of these crazy congressmen, get up, and he's being interviewed. He said, affordability, prices are too high. I've just got there. But we brought prices way down. They gave us tremendously high prices, and they'll give them to you again. They take over. And the Democrats.
Affordability. What a line of bullshit. He said he won because he said affordability all the time during his campaign. During his campaign, he's like, I'm going to make things more affordable. Things are the highest. Things are going to be as high. Inflation might get as bad as it was under Biden. It might. But anyway, he was just as responsible for that inflation because all the PPP loans and everything passed through him. That's what caused the inflation during Biden's term. But now we have tariffs. Just regarding how long the strait will be closed, he keeps saying it's going to last a long time. He always says it's almost over. We're having positive talks, etc. But he also says that it's going to last a long time. It's going to be months, I guess.
This were a fight, they'd stop it. You know that expression, it's true. But they're not coming through with the kind of deal that we have to have, and we're going to get this thing done properly. We're not going to leave early and then have the problem arise in 3 more years.
Wow, what a nice audience.
This were a fight, they'd stop.
We're not going to leave early, basically, he says. So it's going to go on for a long time. Here he is talking about a math test that he was given, a cognitive exam he was given. He's been talking about cognitive tests. They're giving him a dementia test over and over and over again. They're giving him a test frequently to make sure he doesn't have dementia. And he brags about it as if he's getting an intelligence test. But they're obviously concerned because they keep testing him on his basic thinking skills, basically doing things like count backwards from 100. People say the test might have questions like count backwards from 100 in sevens or something like that, which is pretty hard to do. I was trying to do it. Here's what he said is on the test.
And I said, well, I do well on things, so let's do it. And I got everyone right. And these are tough questions. These are tough questions, you know. They say, take a number, any number. Okay, I'll take 99. Multiply times 9, okay? Divide it by 3, good. Add 4,293, that's good. Divide by 2. Subtract 93. Divide by 9. What is your answer? Now, they go a little slower than that, but not much. I don't want to waste a lot of time. But there aren't a lot of people that get it right. I got it right. You know, it was actually longer and more complex than that.
The answer is something. I saw somebody work out the answer. The answer to that is something like 244.6666 or something like that. If you actually did it. But anyway, he said he's doing very complicated math. That would be very complicated. Anyway, here he is doing more math. I like it. Here's
More
good.
than $18 trillion now pouring into our country from all over the globe. Think of that. Think of that.
It's not true.
Trillion in 4
It's also
years.
not true.
And
18
11
trillion
months,
is a made
the
up
12th
number.
month hasn't come out yet. That's long enough. But in 11 months, $18 trillion. So that's 18 times more. But think of it. It's really almost 100 times more if you really multiply it out properly. A short time ago, we more than.
His math stuff is so funny. It's not true. The 18 trillion is a made up number, which he repeats over and over and over again. A lot of that is promised by the Gulf states, which are now bankrupt pretty much, as long as the Strait of Hormuz stays closed. But it's not true. There's something like a few $100 billion or something, but nothing. There's no 18 trillion. It's like 100 times more. Oh, okay, that's good if you really do the math. Here's some more math on our military inventory, which is down by all reports. We've expended. Our intelligence community is concerned we can no longer defend our allies, South Korea or Taiwan, from attack from North Korea or China because we've used all of our weapons, basically, in this Iran conflict. But here he is talking about that.
There was some reporting this week that because of all the firepower required for epic fury, that there are people in the White House who are starting to worry about our inventory of bombs and missiles. Are you worried?
No, we have more than we've ever had, actually.
because all over the world we have inventory, and we can take that if we need it. But all over the world we have tremendous amounts of inventory, the best. For instance, we're stocked and locked and loaded. Right now, we have more than double what we had when this started. But, we're all over the world. We're in many, many different countries, many different places, all packed up. Now, what happened is Biden came in like a stupid fool, and he gave a lot of what we had to Ukraine. Right. And the $350 billion they spent, we don't do that. Everybody has to pay. The European Union pays us, but Biden didn't get money. He got nothing. But he gave a lot of the inventory away. Now, relatively speaking.
Anyway, he said we actually have more than double. Maybe we have weapons in the region, but we've taken them from other places in the world. More than double what we started. Congressional approval. Here he is talking about that, saying just once again something that's totally not true. Let's see.
Iran wants to make a deal because they have no military left, essentially, and they want to make a deal, but I'm not satisfied with it.
Why are you not seeking congressional approval to extend it?
Because it's never been sought before. There's been many, many times, and nobody's ever gotten it before. They consider it totally unconstitutional. But we're always in touch with Congress. But nobody's ever sought it before. Nobody's ever asked for it before. It's never been used before. Why should we be different? Iran.
He actually writes alternative versions of history. I guess it's kind of like I watched that show. I thought it was pretty good. I watched the whole thing. What was it called? The Man in the High Castle, where they have it's an alternative version of history where the Nazis and the Japanese actually won World War II. That's what he does, like alt history. It's like nobody's ever got approval. Well, we declared war. Yes, we actually declared war before. So actually, this would be the first time we've ever done a war for 60 days and not declared war in Congress. So actually, it's not that it's never been done before. In fact, every single other time it's ever happened in American history, it has been done before. And this is the only time it hasn't been done. But yeah, you could say it the other way around, I guess. I guess that makes sense. That's why I can't wait for him to do the press conferences. Here he is answering the question about high gas. I'm looking forward to this. He is going to get annoyed, I think. And that's why he might have to bomb them again. It will get annoying if gas prices keep going up, which they will. Don't know if it's going to be this week for sure, but could be this week already. Every time gas prices hit a new record high, or a new high since the conflict started, they're not at records yet, although we're getting there, he will be asked this question.
Biggest story out there. Bad things would happen. Yeah.
One of the ideas. The average price of a gallon of gas is now $4.30 in this country.
And you know what? And we're not going to have a nuclear weapon in the hands of Iran. The gas will go down. As soon as the war's over, it'll drop like a rock. There's so much of it. It's all over the place, sitting all over the oceans of the world. And it'll go down. But what won't happen is if Iran had a nuclear weapon and used it, then the whole world is a different place. You're not going to have to pay a little bit more for gasoline. The gasoline, the oil will go down rapidly as soon as the war is over. Biggest story.
And there, of course, it's a war. Once again, it's always a war. As soon as the war is over. So the war isn't over, but it is over, according to what he wrote to Congress. But it actually isn't over. And the price of oil will go down. Well, people still think it's going to go down. Oil futures still say it's going to go down, but and that's okay with me. I can invest in oil companies, I guess. So here are a bunch of Republicans being asked about high gas prices and saying things which are inexplicable in one way or another, which is again why Republicans are in a very difficult position where they pretty much either have to lie or just do something else where they kiss Trump's ass. So here is one Representative McCormick being asked about high gas prices, blaming Joe Biden.
How patient do you think your constituents are going to be if that gas gets above $5 a gallon? Are they willing to play that long game you described?
First of all, I don't think this is going to happen. First, think about we're ramping up our production. Other countries, you just had, you have Oman and Yemen, and other countries who are like, yeah, we'll step up. We're outside the embargoed area. They're going to step it up. I'm leaving OPEC, UAE, right? And so if you look at these countries who can produce outside, Venezuela can step up. There's a lot of countries, all of a sudden, we're going to start actually, once again, shifting the geopolitical landscape. And you actually can bring the prices down without going to the Persian Gulf, which is only 20% of the world's oil. And remember, the United States is not as dependent on foreign oil as everybody else. We do it just because it's a quicker track, but we don't have to do that. If we had the pipeline that we didn't complete, thanks to the Biden administration for so long, we'd be in a much better position. But no, we don't think strategically. We think politically, and that's the problem.
Thanks for stopping.
So, American oil producers are so far refusing to produce more oil because futures prices haven't gone up enough yet. That's all. So actually, American producers are not producing more oil. We do not produce more oil than we consume. And we are drawing our oil right now from storage. And it is rapidly being depleted. And we continue to send more of our oil overseas where they're paying more for it. And our oil companies are not going to let us do what we should do, probably, and actually ban the export of oil. If we did that, that would help. We could ban the export of oil and actually look out for Americans. We're not doing that. We're sending what little oil we have left to other countries because we are making a wager with Satan that the war will be over soon and that we will get more oil. The UAE left OPEC. Okay. So people are like, oh, that's great. The UAE will produce extra oil and the price of oil will go down. They can produce more oil, but they can't ship it. They can't do it now. They're already at full capacity. The UAE is already at full capacity for what they can ship through the other Gulf, through the one that Yemen can control if they feel like it. The Houthis can shut down if they feel like it. They're already at maximum capacity. Nowhere near their OPEC quota right now. So they left OPEC, which means that after the Strait of Hormuz opens for them, which it never will, again, according to Iran, then they could produce more oil. Venezuela can't produce extra oil without investment in decades. American producers aren't willing to produce more oil without futures prices being much higher. So, like, none of it's true. We don't get oil from the Strait of Hormuz. Okay. Well, we're still going to run out at the current rate. So here's Representative Burchett talking about gas prices. They're being asked, of course, by everybody.
What kind of grade do you give the president with gas getting up near $5 a gallon?
And then it has to do with the greed of the oil companies. We buy zero oil from Iran. 90% of their oil they sell to China, and they're just gouging us. And I blame Congress because every dadgum time we do this, oh, we're going to bring the oil executives down here, and they shake the money tree. And every time I say this, my contributions from the oil distributors goes down. So, but I don't care. I'm over it. They are ripping America off. We've got to do something better.
Your constituents
And
agree
it's
with
not
that?
capitalism. It is not capitalism. And quit telling me that it's a commodity virtue. You don't understand it. But we don't prop up every other commodity with billions of dollars and offsets and rebates and all this garbage we give these oil companies. And so I'm over it.
What kind of grade do you give the president?
Gouging. So that's a left-wing talking point, by the way. Gas is up because oil companies are gouging us. And just a reminder, in Iran, a gallon of oil is 10 cents. Heavily subsidized by their government. So very different. 10 cents a gallon. Here is another representative being asked about it.
Congressman, do you think that Donald Trump has delivered on his promise to lower prices?
He's working on it.
Yeah. Well, he was like in school. What grade would you give him so far?
So I would say probably at least a satisfactory, I guess, at this point.
Satisfactory?
Or A for effort, but we're not quite where we need to be.
Thank you, Gary.
E for effort. So that's a Republican. At least that guy's. Here's here's Tim Scott. Someone just make things up. Here's Tim Scott.
That's great news, by the way. The fact of the matter is that all of the cylinders are kicking. It is good news. You can even feel in our environment how good things are getting. Gas prices continue to come down, which means that your groceries will come down a little bit as well. We've got a lot of good signs.
This is just the other day.
Economy. We just need to continue to execute and have confidence in the choices the American people have made by making President Trump their president and keeping majorities, Republican majorities in both the House and the Senate. That's great news, by the way. The fact.
Okay. Gas prices keep going down. This is literally from just the other day. Okay, here's another one. Here is Steve Scalise talking about it. Gas prices in particular.
Prediction markets aren't friendly to the GOP's chances for holding the House. I mean, even the Senate is somewhat questionable. I don't know if you put any stock in that, but there were some developments this week.
No, I don't.
Seems like negative developments in Virginia, I think, for Democrats, positive developments for Republicans in Texas, something happening in Florida now. What is do you think there's any way that your party holds on in November to the House?
Absolutely. And look, it's a path that is focused on turnout, number one, and delivery. What we've delivered to finally start turning this mess around that we inherited a year and a half ago. People that will remember, you go back 2 years ago, we were paying almost $6 a gallon for gasoline. Right now it's in the threes. Obviously, we've seen a jump with the Iran conflict.
When were we
it's
paying $6?
Still 50.
What,
well,
that,
2.5 years ago.
I don't
But
think
if
we were.
you look at
That wasn't
if you
the
look
average
at where we
price.
are now, we're over 30% below where we were just 2 years ago. Today, we are 30% below where we were 2 years ago. It's still going to go lower when Iran gets resolved and the Strait of Hormuz gets open. But at the same time, did anybody want a nuclear-armed Iran? I think if you ask most normal people, they would say absolutely not. When they just slaughtered 30,000 of their own people, they were about to get a
Also
nuclear
made
weapon.
up number.
And President Trump stopped that. But that's going to get resolved. President Trump's negotiating that right now. He's negotiated a number of peace deals. They're trying to get a resolution between Russia and Ukraine right now, too. So if you look all across the board, we are lowering inflation. Interest rates have started to come down. They're not where we want to be, by the way. We have a lot of work to do. But do you want to go back to the days where interest rates were in double digits, where inflation was 50% higher than it was today? So we're bringing things down so that we can make life more affordable, but we have more work to do. And that's why we're going to hold the majority.
You must have been on vacation in California. I think 2 years ago, in April of 2024, we were at about 365. So we're actually above where we were then. And I'm not.
No, we were well into the fives under Biden, well into the fives.
At one point, not
You
2
had
years ago.
Most
we were at
of energy
365.
production shut down. Energy in the Gulf of America was shut down. Alaska was shut down. We opened that up, by the way, in the working families
but
tax
2
cut,
years ago,
and that's why
the
you're seeing
average
more
was
production now.
Exactly 2 years ago, the average was 365 to 367. I'm not saying that $4 or whatever it is now, that the long-term goals that we're trying to accomplish in the Middle East, I'm not saying it's not worth it for a brief time, but it's definitely going to hurt people, obviously, this summer if you're paying a lot. Andrew was telling me you're going to stay home at this point, right?
Well, I do think you're going to see a resolution to that conflict.
This is why I for my job, I'm lucky. For my job, I ride an electric bike, which is in the shop right now, which is really pissed me off. But other people are quitting. Like Uber drivers are stopping to driving, which is good for me. But people are going to be riding bicycles. You mark my words. But anyway, it's and Joe Kiernan is like a big Trump guy. The guy asking questions who just corrected Steve Scalise. He's a big Trump guy. But he's like, no, it's not true. Inflation is way higher. Interest rates are higher. Interest rates are high. Mortgage rates are 6.5%. The housing market's going to crash, most likely. Treasuries are selling off, meaning rates are going higher. 30-year is at like 5% right now. I don't know what these guys are going to keep saying. Here's a good one. This is the housing director, Bill Pulte, on housing affordability. This is a good one.
Into homes. And for a long time, especially over the last 4 years under Joe Biden, nobody could afford a home. And so President Trump has come in and crushed affordability. He's crushed all types of inflation that's gone on. And so it's very proper that we're focused on credit scores. You know, people, they look at their FICO score oftentimes, Charles, and they think, man, this isn't reflective of what I've really actually been paying on time. Yeah. And so this will hopefully allow more people to access a home who can frankly afford to do so.
You know, when people get
housing is the least affordable it's ever been based on the measurements of it. Right now, houses are the least affordable they've ever been, ever in the history of tracking it, at least. And interest rates are going up. The Fed is going to raise rates, not cut rates, if they do anything. Here, I'll play you. This is somebody from the Fed talking about inflation, who's actually talking about it for real. Inflation is going up. It's much higher than when Donald Trump took office, and he just raised tariffs on European cars to 25%, which I'm sure people appreciate. He just raised tariffs on European cars to 25%, meaning BMWs, Mercedes, Porsche, Volkswagen are all going to be more expensive. Here's Neil Kashkari on the Fed talking about inflation and how people aren't ready for it, basically.
And I wonder now, since we're in week 10 of this tension, however it's defined, how are you going to be able to judge the inflation shock over the next few weeks until you get to that June meeting?
Well, I'll give you an example. So the price effect, the energy effect and energy prices from the Iran conflict is already by some measures as big or larger than when Russia invaded Ukraine. So it's already having a big effect, and we're seeing it. You mentioned the PCE data. We're already seeing it in the inflation numbers here at home. I talked to the CEO of a global company headquartered in Minnesota that has supply chains all around the world just last week. And they have estimated that even if the Strait reopened today, it would probably take 6 months for their supply chains to return to something like normal. So I think for the Fed, we are going to have to watch what happens in the Middle East and the inflation data very carefully. That's going to have to guide us. But if it's a 6-month process for inflation returning to normal or something like normal, in the best case scenario, I'm also very concerned about something that's not the best case scenario and what that might do to prices here at home.
There you go. So that's somebody from the Fed. They're probably going to raise if the economy doesn't crash first, they'll end up raising rates. So basically there's two things that can happen. Oil can go to $200, or the economy crashes first. But either way, it's not good, pretty much. I mean, either oil is going to go way higher and the economy won't crash and people can afford it, or we go into a depression where people can't afford anything and the price of oil doesn't go to $200. But that's basically like the options right now. So I said calm before the storm. And yes, oil is, it was initially down, but it's hardly down right now. It's almost flat. So Trump's announcement did nothing for oil. Oil is 101.60 right now. And well up. I can show you the chart. This is oil. So here's where it opened over here. And it's all the way back up to almost where it was when it closed on Friday. So, which was down, down a little bit. The Bank of Japan intervened for one thing the other day, but very quickly going back up. 101.75 already. It's gone up this whole show. It's been going up. So, we can look forward to probably higher gas prices this week. So I hope everybody's looking forward to that. But I am, because I can, because I'm long oil, but also because I like having these people continue having to answer questions about it. So, all right. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Good to see you guys. Since it's been a long time, we will continue to watch the news. We will let you know what happens. We will come back when it is time appropriate. Normally the show is around 3 p.m. Weekdays, sometimes weekends, if it shows up. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Good to see you guys. We will see if our predictions come true. And we have a global depression. But in any case, right now we just think oil is probably going to continue going higher. And eventually food is going to be bad. Things are going to get worse than people expect, in my opinion. So that's it. Those are your black pills for the day. Let me check my coffees just in case anybody gave me some. Thanks for the super chat, Pirate Justin. I didn't thank you when yours came through. Oh, I'll check the poll. 83% of people said the assassination attempt was staged. 83%. Wow, that's super high. You guys must all be Democrats now. I thought that was a Democrat talking point. Are you guys all Democrats? I don't think so. I still don't think we have Democrats listen. All right, let me check my coffees. Not Joanna says Apple podcast if it's not too much effort. Thanks. She bought 2 coffees. Yes, I haven't been posting this as a podcast. And I apologize. I haven't been posting this as a podcast. I will post this show. Thank you, Not Joanna. We will post this show as a podcast. And we apologize for not posting the other shows. I didn't know if they were worthy, I guess. I will post this one. Thank you, Not Joanna, for 2 coffees. Thank you very much. Super appreciate it. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Good to see you guys. And we'll see you at the next one. For now, that's what it is.